Palestine!
Our next speaker is someone you will all know well. He represents the Stop the War Coalition, one of the organisations that's pulled today together, and one of the organisations that's worked with PSC, Friends of Al-Aqsa, Muslim Association of Britain, Palestinian Forum of Britain, and many others, in organising the demonstrations and protests that have taken place over the last few weeks. I'm really pleased that our next speaker is John Rees from Stop the War Coalition.
So this ceasefire broke down for one simple reason, and that is because the Israeli state will not lift the siege of Gaza. Now, why would any people, after they have been relentlessly attacked, bombed, their schools, their hospitals, their children destroyed by bombing, why would they say, we will have a ceasefire just so that you can rearm and do the same thing again the next time?
No way!
There can be no lasting ceasefire until the Israeli state lifts the siege of Gaza. In fact, even Gaza as it exists cannot be rebuilt until the siege is lifted, because the materials for the rebuilding could not get through the siege as it previously existed. So even to rebuild Gaza, even to reconstruct the damage that's been done, even for that reason, the siege of Gaza must be lifted, and that is the precondition of any future progress. And that will happen all the quicker if the people who arm and sustain the state of Israel feel the political pressure of a mass movement like this. It was only the fact that we took to the streets, that we made this an issue for the British government, that the Liberals decided that they had to put some pressure on the coalition and said that they would, if fighting restarted, suspend 12 export licenses of arms to the Israelis. Well, the fighting has restarted. So we approached the government and we said to them, okay, you said if there was more fighting that those licenses would be cancelled. And you know what they said? We're not sure there's been enough fighting yet. Well, how much fighting does there have to be? How many craters in the ground? How many Palestinians killed? How many hospitals destroyed? How many schools reduced to dust before you decide there's enough fighting and those export licenses should be cancelled? Let's be clear. This is the first demand. Take the weapons out of the hands of the Israelis. Stop giving the Israelis arms. And I'll tell you where the next best place to press this message home is. It's in Wales next week. Because next week, every single leader of the NATO alliance will be at the NATO summit in South Wales. President Obama, David Cameron, Francois Hollande, all of the warmongers will be at the NATO summit next week. And it's not just about the Palestinians, essential and vital though that cause is. Obama is now the 4th American president to bomb Iraq. It is the relentless eastward expansion of NATO that caused the crisis in the Crimea and then in the Ukraine.
Warmongers!
These people are serial warmongers. They will see a fire and pour petrol on the fire, whether it's in Palestine or whether it's in Iraq or whether it's in the Ukraine. And these people have to be stopped. And the only way of stopping them is by getting masses of people on the streets to say, you are not doing this in our name, that if you continue to do this, you will pay a political price. And this government understands that. Because I'll tell you why they aren't recalling Parliament. Because they can't trust the MPs to vote the right way after they lost the vote to go to war in Syria last year. So the anti-war movement is causing a crisis in this government. It's causing a crisis for the warmongers. And that's why every single time they gather together, every single time they gather to plan the next war, to arm the next dictator, to arm the next group of allies who will be tomorrow's terrorists, we have to say to them, you are not doing this in our name. We will protest, we will strike, we will boycott until you are defeated. Join us next week in work.